welcome to episode 49 of Cinema Curse. Tonight, movie court. First, Clint Eastwood's courtroom thriller, Juror number 2. Then, whoever made September 5's ethics and games journalism thriller, September 5. Last, Francis Ford Coppola's architecture thriller, Megalopolis. I'm your Wicked Game Master, Connor Lloyd Crews, and today, one of many abrupt tone shifts I'm going to make. I'm manifesting healing and peace for a lot of people between the fucking election, between these fucking fires, between the passing of David Lynch, between things that have affected some people close to us much more personally. You know, I just think, yeah, it'd be cool if things calmed down and were chill for once. And that's what I'm manifesting. But I'm also here with Mr. Daniel Ott and Ms. Bri Robert.
Hi.
And
Bri.
and Monsieur Scott Heaton.
That's correct.
Oui. Count Heaton. It's been 441 days since the strike ended and the AMPTP still sucks. I want to thank Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunken for the use of their song Curse with the EP She Nods for opening. And then, you know, also just with my opening, I was like looking for specific places to donate, but everybody knows a good one. Like, you know a place you could donate to. And so you should I'm just motivating people, just do $5, you know, if anything, you know. And yeah, but how's everybody doing?
What a year!
What a year, yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a long one, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Jesus.
Thank God it's almost over, right? It's almost over, right?
Yeah. It's been so stressful that, like, when you mentioned like Trump and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, that's happening too. Like,
yeah.
I barely noticed the inauguration. Now he's back, and it's like, yeah, shit's gonna start sucking. But like, that's been like the fourth on like, oh yeah, that just yeah.
There's Kevin.
Kevin's just kind of blended in with me, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can sort of see her beard and her teeth.
Well, and if you're listening to the show, because it's not on audio, you won't see that at all.
Oh, true.
But we're actually going to talk about the movies in a different order than I mentioned, because I wrote that before one of our guests got sick and is going to join later. Let's start off with a talk about CREEPULA'S Megaflopolis. I have a production still from the movie behind me. And I will get to the Creepula stuff. And I will derisively call him that throughout this entire thing. But I don't want to talk about the Victor Salva shit before actually talking about what the movie is and why I didn't like it. But would somebody... I'll let Daniel... You're the pervert who put this on your top films of the year list. You want to give a summary?
Yeah, Megalopolis is
try to summarize this.
A modern fable about a man named Caesar Catalina that is going to build the city of the future modeled after the Roman Empire, which all men famously love. And stuff goes wrong as he tries to build his utopia. And there's things said and kisses to be had and time to be stopped. And there's a woman named Wild Platinum, also important. We'll get to that.
Aubrey Plaza.
A lot of political espionage, too. Very, like, Star Wars prequel coded in that regard.
I did write down... one of my positive notes is actors innocent, at least in regards to their acting here. But yeah, I'm coming in on the nay side. Yeah, this is it's movie court. both of them at the same time. I'm coming in anti Megalopolis. It wasn't my least favorite movie of the year, and I didn't quite hate it. That award goes to Strange Darling, which Brian and I talked about on a previous segment. I forget, like, was it the end of like the Halloween episode or something? It was somewhere around that.
Yeah, because it was you and I and Heidi, I think.
Yeah.
For that one, right? Yeah, no, you and I just kind of got off on a tangent with it toward the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. My friend Bella, I watched it with her. Her review on Letterbox was just a link to that Whitest Kids You Know sketch where he's doing the slow jerk off. I would compare it to like hanging out with a guy who can't stop asking questions and talking about the Roman Empire and quoting Shakespeare, because I don't ever think about the Roman Empire, like, ever.
I know that trend was surprising because I feel like it's for the generation above, maybe, because when I know of it, but I don't know if I'm talking about it with friends.
I think
frequently.
we're all beta males is the problem, and so
Maybe.
I think because of this we don't think about. I think if one of us.
No, because they asked Denzel Washington how often he thinks about the Roman Empire, and he just looked at all his friends like, "Do you guys ever think about that?" They're like, "No." What do you? So like, I think it's a like.
Yeah, but he's also
like,
we're white. That's the difference.
I was saying, like, it's a white guy thing. Okay,
Yes.
So is that? Oh, okay.
I think so, 100%. Like, who fucking gives a shit? It's the same thing with, like, I went on this France tour this last year, and there's all these people, all these like boomers on it who, you know, were various degrees of nice for the most part, and but they were like really upset about, like, man, we got to know the history of all this stuff. Like, people have got to know nobody teaches the history anymore, and I'm like, you know. Knowing that this guy like went over this ridge and took that station and then ordered those 3 guys to go over there, like, that's not history.
Mm-hmm.
That's you being a fucking nerd. And but all these people who
it's a trivia at a certain point.
Yeah, all the people who like this kind of stuff, or the Roman Empire stuff, they like to act like it's not. I like to act like it's different than me knowing as much as I know about the world of Frank Herbert's Dune, but it really isn't. I think. Poisonally.
It's a fear to embrace their passion, even though their passion may have actually happened. The knowledge of it is no less nerdy.
Yeah. Well, can you guys?
It's equally beautiful.
Can you guys defend
if you own it?
Liking Megalopolis? Well, I know, Scott, you're more in the middle, more towards Daniel's side, but more in the middle.
My immediate stance is this movie came out in September. Like, I saw it once in September.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I remember liking it.
Yeah.
But like, defend yourself. Like, I don't know.
Defend yourself.
Yeah. I didn't hate it. But I couldn't. Also, like, I didn't like it that much because I couldn't.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm largely joking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you much about it now, like why I liked it. Or I couldn't like debate with somebody like but I remember watching it thinking like, yeah, I could see people not liking this. It makes sense that people not like it.
To be fair, this episode was built a little bit more around the idea of me pitting Daniel and Josh against each other on juror number 2. Okay. Which now we're saving for the final act, so that's actually in some ways a good thing. The way things got switched around in the order, but and he's also sick, so we'll see how much. But yeah, no, I you know, I feel like we should like, I get to a certain degree why people like parts of it. There are some moments that are funny. Get to the club, the boner, most of the Aubrey Plaza stuff, most of the Shia LaBeouf stuff. I get it. Like, I don't not get it. There are pleasures to be found here. But I feel like everything I've seen it compared to has more of those pleasures. Like, even the Star Wars prequels have more like weirdo pleasures in them, from being just, I think, so earnest in their attempt to do this thing. And Megalopolis feels very confused to me. Like, I think it would be fascist if it had a viewpoint, but it doesn't. It's kind of anti-populist, which has worked out great for us. Yeah, I feel like we should expect more from a master. I mean, there's like other big filmmakers who have made other movies in recent years that I definitely don't like as much as other people, but obviously like all those movies are fucking way better. Like I don't even want to mention them, but like movies, it's I don't know. I remember it mostly being kind of a struggle to get through, to be honest. You fucker.
I disagree. I don't think it's a weird thing where like I think what you're saying. There's like this weird idea, and I was trying to look it up to see if this was true for other things, but passion projects with old men at like a certain year where you've hit like the 30-40 year mark are so weird because they've hit a point where they're so obsessed with making it that they can't comprehend how it, like if he made this 40 years ago, I think it would be looked at differently, the techniques and what he's trying to say, and we would look at it back as like, oh, it's like this relic of this, but it's like this weird thing of, it's kind of like Don Quixote with Terry Gilliam, also with Adam Driver. Maybe Adam Driver is the way you get stuff made, but it still felt like someone now out of touch in a different way, making something that should have existed in the past, that I think is fascinating because I can't, the obsessive need to finish it, but also not modify it to be a substantial new entry or like new vision around it. And like I think Coppola throws all this new tech at it with like the LED screens and new digital camera tech that like lets him do stuff for like cheaper, even though it's ballooned to like $100+ million. But yeah, I think I do kind of agree. I think it's a lot of, there are things that I compared it to that I would rather like. I was entertained the whole time. I never was checking my watch. I was sort of just stunned by so much of it because I was conflicted with, is this funny or is this just funny to me? And some of it I was like, I think this is funny. Like I think this is intentionally funny. Like the club, back at the club. There's no.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a funny.
Yeah. And so I think it took me 20 minutes to calibrate vibe, and then it just is sort of odd. Like Shia LaBeouf in it is really odd, but I think like the moment toward the end where he like throws his hat, he's like, pick up my hat, and his buddy's like, pick up his hat, type of stuff. I was like, okay, this is a comedy.
My friend Celeste pointed out she kind of liked the staging of that early scene where they're all like deciding plans for the city and they're all on like those like weird rickety wires and stuff. And there's some cool stuff for sure. I've thought about, would I like this more if it was made by like someone else, someone who doesn't have the expectations that the movie would at least be, up to a certain level of enjoyability or something. I mean, you talk about him and Terry Gilliam, and I think one thing that separates those guys from, other filmmakers who have had similarly lengthy careers, but like you think about Scorsese. Like I don't love Scorsese's last couple movies as much as some people do, but they're fucking way fucking better than Megalopolis. I think he's maintained, it's almost like a muscle. Like Scorsese and Spielberg and honestly Miller, I mean the Happy Feet movies are pretty good. Like these older filmmakers who are still good, I think it's because they never stopped making good movies. And I agree. Some of these filmmakers,
and they keep evolving.
Some of these filmmakers have just kind of forgotten how to make a good movie.
Or they're obsessed with an idea of what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And shifting, because I think the like cost of Megalopolis is so interesting because it does not feel expensive.
Yeah,
there are CGI shots that are supposed to invoke a ton of money, but it feels very like I would almost rather it looks like a Neil Breen movie. Yeah. I almost wonder if there'd be charm there, and like they had to cookie cutter this together to pull it off because it couldn't be made. Instead of being like, well, I just sold my vineyards and funded it myself, and this is like the outcome is so interesting.
if Neil Breen had made this, I'd be super impressed. I mean, first of all, I'd be
if
like,
he just took the
how do you
script
get
and
these
made it,
people?
yeah,
Still not as good as Fateful Findings.
No,
Like,
of course
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Very
like,
few movies are.
It would still be his second best movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much of this too. Like every so often, I'd be like, "Oh, this is a really lovely shot," and then other shots, I'd be like, "Whoa, this passed. Someone cleared this."
I was really trying to watch it again. I do, even when it was over, I remember thinking like, I want to see this again. Like I want to, like, not necessarily to experience it again, but just like I need to see, like, I think there's a lot going on here, and one viewing might not be enough.
I would potentially rewatch it with an audience. I would agree with that. I would potentially rewatch this with an audience, depending on if it was like deep. If it was at the Arrow, no way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going across town for this. But like, you want to do like the Egyptian or something closer, then possibly, yeah.
I was more on the Monday night page.
Yeah. Well, we did a different movie, which we'll talk about later in my more of 24 section.
Also, it has like a few sequence. There's one sequence in like IMAX 1:43 ratio, and it played on IMAX at 10 p.m. for like 5 days.
Yeah.
And so I went to one of those with like 6 people there, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll go again." And they pull it out of IMAX before the like time it was scheduled to be was even done. So I couldn't even go see it again in like the true format, which is one sequence. But
which sequence was that?
It's like toward the end of the movie when there's like vertical lines that are showing like stuff being built and like changes happening. Yeah. It becomes the full screen for a second.
Yeah, I would like to see a version of it where there is the guy in the audience who says something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I tried to do that on a second thing, and it was like there were like 2 screenings that weekend. One, I think at either the Americana or the Grove, and then one at the IMAX in Irvine. I don't know how they picked those, but
yeah, those things sold out pretty quickly, which is funny because it was only for like
yeah, I imagine it was frustrating to have made an effort to be at that one, and that was the reveal.
Yeah, it's one question. I thought it was going to be a whole press like back and forth interview or something, but it really is just one question.
And it's not even it's like not spoken live. I guess it is just lip synced to the audio of the movie. It's what I've heard, because so it's a guy gets up and does it.
I'm on Connor's side. Yeah, all right. So wait, the guy that doesn't even say it. It just stands.
In the theater, it's like favors the left side, like it's like a stereo on the left side. But people were like, "Oh, it's the same voice every time, like it's a pre-recorded thing," and he just lip syncs it.
Somebody couldn't get up and just go like Baba Booey or whatever.
Wait, what do you mean lip syncs it? He doesn't. It's not like we can see his face.
I guess if you turned around. Like, I think if they like maybe had a spotlight on them or something, so I had hoped it was going to be like
screening could have been one.
Yeah,
if somebody
I could have done it. If I had done it again, I could have been the guy. I could have really surprised that audience.
what a so Muppet 3D is actually better than Mega.
I think so.
All right. Well, see, I'm glad we did this trial. I've been shifted. So.
Well,
I thought my in-laws are coming into town. We're like going to go through some movies from last year, and I like had this for a second where I was like, could I make it through this with them? And the answer is no. I decided no. But I'm looking forward to partaking of gardening and revisiting it, because I've only seen it sober.
Getting mysterious.
So yeah.
Well, to move on, I'll say here's one other criticism that'll lead into my bit where I'm trying to get Francis Ford Coppola canceled. It is weird to make his heroic lead be accused of raping a minor, considering his involvement with Victor Salva. If people don't know what Victor Salva did, he had a quote-unquote relationship with a 12-year-old boy when he was 29, making Clown House. I have 2 pieces of information. One is a quote from the LA Times. The other is some summarized bits of information from the kid. I'm going to read that here. From LA Times, Coppola was on hand for some of the filming of Clown House since it was made in part at Coppola's home in Napa Valley. I didn't know of anything improper going on, although I witnessed some things that caused me to raise an eyebrow, he said. Only in retrospect did things really add up. You have to remember, while this was a tragedy, the difference in age between Victor and the boy was very small. Victor was practically a child himself. Again, this is 29 and 12. And then the boy would later go on to say that Coppola paid for Salva's lawyer. Nathan still had to do overdubs at Coppola's house where he was harassed by Coppola, and Coppola then did a lawsuit against Nathan's family for breach of contract. And there's some even more damning stuff that I've read, but I can't confirm it from a direct source. So fuck him, fuck that guy. He go fuck himself. But I wanted to save that to the end because there's really nothing you can say, and so I wanted to burden myself with having to move on from it. And I'm gonna briefly talk about September 5. Here's another publicity still from the film. I'm the only one who saw this movie, September 5. It's the story of the, I guess, like ESPN, I think, press, sports press, or it's like the ABC sports press. They're covering the Munich Olympics back in the 70s when the thing that happens at the beginning of the movie Munich happens, and the Palestinian, they were called terrorists. I was like one of the first times I used that word, apparently, if the movie is to be believed. Took Israeli hostages from the Israeli Olympic team. I also didn't like this movie. We were originally going to do just like one new movies episode, but we split it into two, and it's basically like the stinkers, in my opinion, and then the next one is the good ones. September 5, it's less that I'm offended by the way this movie sidesteps all of the politics that it is dealing with, and thus sort of just like endorses general neoliberal stuff. And more that the whole movie has the vibe of that deleted scene from Forrest Gump where Forrest stops the dogs from attacking MLK at the Selma March. Have you guys seen this deleted scene? I know, Bri, I've sent that to you.
No,
I've not seen the deleted. No.
It has a flashback to where we see Forrest like playing with these dogs when they're like puppies and he's younger, and then it's like Forrest is and all of this is sort of it's like they filmed some of it but never like completed it, so the effects aren't done. And because some of this is done in that like newsreel thing they do in that movie where it's like made to look like Forrest is back there.
Yeah.
But Forrest, Jenny's like, well, there's a thing going on, and he runs, and the police are sicking these dogs on MLK and the Selma March, and Forrest comes up and gets a stick and distracts the dogs with a stick, and Forrest goes up to MLK, he's like, they just dogs, they don't know no better. There's like a part in September 5 where a character is like on the phone hearing like demands in this room full of other people, or they're like listening to a radio and they're the only one who can speak the language. And they say something about like a bus, like, oh, they want a bus. And then like the 12 people in the room, almost like as a chorus, are like, a bus. Like they start talking to each other, and then she goes like, quiet. And then they all just immediately shut up. And she starts like translating again. And it feels like it's just like this far off from a Wet Hot American Summer bit, like making fun of this type of movie and that type of tone, which, to be fair, that kind of like really earnest goofiness is something that like you can appreciate in like a summer blockbuster. But I think in the context of September 5, it rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, it feels like because it's using real footage from the news, and so it's like cutting to the real news footage. It'd be like if like we made a 9/11 movie where it's like cutting to the real news footage of 9/11, and then every once in a while we cut back to like Kelsey Grammer and I don't know, fucking Sophie Thatcher behind the camera being like, this is the most important day in news journalism history. Like, we have to get this story right. Ugh! Like, capital A acting. And I was like, this is weird. I don't like it. But yeah, I thought it was a weird movie. I mean, it's like 90 minutes, so it's got that going for it. It's not my least favorite thing I saw this year.
I saw someone describe it as an HBO movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
As both a positive and a negative thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I can like, I watched enough of those that like I can kind of get that vibe.
I want to see. I do. I'm hoping I'll catch it when it comes out on streaming if I don't catch it in theaters. But
I think more people are going to have a problem with, again, the fact that it kind of just plays into like pretty de facto things about Israeli-Palestine conflict. I mean, to be fair, the movie, that incident doesn't look great on paper, but obviously the situation is much more complex, and the movie like introduces the idea that everything is political without also grappling with that, and it's like, well, then that itself is also political. Like, you've just introduced something that kind of like the fact that you're not willing at all to engage that, especially in modern, like, what a shitty, they should have made it like 10 years ago, you know what I mean?
We should talk about in the future movies about real life events that have multiple movies about them. Like, if we pair this with Spielberg's Munich,
yeah, a better movie
as like the same event from different perspectives would be really interesting.
I mean, to be fair, Munich's a great movie, so like, of course, it's probably a better movie.
But I'm talking like All the President's Men with, or am I thinking Spot? Which was also had the Watergate?
Was it the second Austin Powers?
Maybe second Austin Powers. But any real life events with multiple movies from multiple perspectives would be fun.
That would be cool. We're gonna do a little hodgepodge here. More of 24. I've got a still of Coleman Domingo from his Actors on Actors with Kieran Culkin, with his that's I Am Actually Telling the Truth this time, with his hands in his face, to represent it, because one of the movies I wanted to bring up is Sing Sing, but I actually wanted to text Josh real quick. Does anybody have any other, besides Sing Sing, 2024 movies they want to shout out that they've been catching up on?
When I was home, I saw the Lion King prequel. It was fine. It was
hell yeah,
pretty forgettable. I will say the animation was better. I hated the animation from the first one, where like the lip syncing seemed off because like lions don't have lips, so it just seemed like every single character was just going like. And this one looked as though the characters were actually speaking.
Okay.
But the music was, and it was Lin-Manuel Miranda, but it was fine, but like pretty forgettable. I couldn't tell you a single song that came from it.
He's coasting. He's saving it for something else.
The plot was just whatever, but now we know why Pride Rock looks like Pride Rock. So we got that going for it. I will say there was one joke in it that did like genuinely make me laugh. Timon and Pumbaa in it again, and even there, like the first one, they were funnier. They like the funniest parts of it. But the problem with this one is that it's sort of like a Princess Bride structure where like someone's telling a story. So whenever they cut back to Timon and Pumbaa, it's like, oh, we're going to do some comedy bits. And it's kind of like, yeah, can we just keep this thing moving along? I'd like to go home now. So,
Yeah, how long is it?
I don't know.
2 hours.
I don't think so.
I watched the Super/Man, the Christopher Reeve story documentary, which wants to be the Mr. Rogers doc, but it is closer to the Iron Claw. Jesus Christ. I feel so bad for little Matt Reeve. I mean, he's like our age, or well, me and Daniel's age. Sorry, guys. Sorry to out y'all as being older.
Damn.
But like he's like exactly like he would have been born in like 91, 92 or something, which is And it's really good though, but it is extremely, if you don't know some of the things that happen to their family, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. I mean, yeah. I saw Last Showgirl, which had good performances and only 85 minutes, so it's the better Coppola movie in my opinion. Even though some of the shots were out of focus, which I thought was not a choice, but maybe they just forgot.
Well, because they shot it on film, so I mean, I'm guessing it wasn't exactly the most seasoned DP pros out there, maybe. Because I enjoyed it, but you know, some of the story was lacking for me a little bit. Like it was just like, oh, we're doing this thing, okay. But then I was like, I mean, I love Jamie Lee was great, Pamela was great, everybody was really good.
Dave Bautista. I didn't know Dave Bautista was going to be in it, and one of
I didn't either. He was good because I didn't look at that and see Dave Bautista.
No.
Insane year for Kiernan Shipka. She's in that, Long Legs, Twisters, Red One, and
where she plays Gryla.
That's it,
I think.
Wild, yeah.
2 movies I saw that would have been on my list if I had seen them before I posted it. First is Flow, the animated kitty cat movie.
Seconded.
It's like The Witness. If people have played the video game, The Witness meets Babe Pig in the City, is how I would describe it. It's very good.
If you're an animal lover or pet owner, it's also incredibly remarkably stressful.
Yeah, well, that's the Babe Pig in the City aspect of it. That's why it's not just The Witness, because that's a very peaceful game. And then the movie we watched instead of Megalopolis on Monday Night Movie Night is Frankie Frico, the new movie from the Psycho Gorman guy, which is just extremely my shit. I mean, it has multiple groups. For Monday Night Movie Night, the Flophouse and Red Letter Media are always the 2 things we kind of pull the most from, and it literally has the voices of the 3 main people from each of those in the movie. It's got a really funny body double sound-alike cue. You know that main theme from Body Double, Daniel, when she's like dancing and stuff. They have like a sound-alike that plays because it's about this guy. It's about if you know Freddie Freaker, was this real thing where it was like a guy, and he would it would be on MTV, and it'd be like, Freddie Freaker, the guy around the nation, call in and see what's scamming and jamming from New York to LA, call now. And he would call in, and it was like a 1-800 number, and it would just tell fart jokes or whatever the fuck and scam you out of money. In this movie, basically this guy who's like a big square sees one of these called Frankie Frico, who's gonna get the party started, and then he calls, and it becomes like Gremlins at first, and then it becomes like the Super Mario Brothers movie at a certain point. It's really fun. Yeah, I like that one a lot. And Sing Sing, I liked it. I definitely, not as much as Flo and whatchamahazit, the one I just mentioned, but I know, yeah, Daniel and Josh, I wish Josh was here. Y'all were a little more mid on it than I guess maybe I thought y'all would be, potentially.
Yeah, I think I talked to Josh about it, so it's kind of cheating, but I was sort of taken when it got to the credits, and I don't know, it's not like a reveal, but a lot of the incarcerated people in it are playing themselves. Yeah. And it felt, I don't know, it felt kind of like a little too not making nice, I guess sort of like making nice of a terrible thing, but there's good things that happen. So I think the intention is pure that and it's one of those things where I think it is probably like a slight thing of these filmmakers are not haven't experienced this, so maybe they just, to them, they're I think with a good heart trying to share this a knowledge base, this happens and it's really good for the people that it affects. But I felt like a strange divide between that intention versus the movie, where I was like, they're making prison look like a nice thing, and I think that's kind of weird to a degree. that I struggled with. But it's set with me better. I thought about it for a few days afterwards. I think mostly because Coleman Domingo and several of the inmates or of the incarcerated people are very good.
Yes,
So I think I warmed to it a little more than my initial leaving the theater experience.
Cool. Well, Josh isn't here to add on to that. So
I think he was in similar. I mean, he could speak for himself if he disagrees, but we had talked. I had mentioned when I texted him about it.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to.
I can give you a quick rapid fire.
I'm
so sorry.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta change my background back. Okay, go ahead.
My rapid fire 2024 that I picked up last few weeks. Thelma, which is incredible. And if you have a grandparent in your life that you miss, you'll call immediately. June Squibb, MVP. Fred Hershinger, who's in like Gladiator 2. Vox. He seems to be in like a lot of up and coming stuff. Very good. Basically, Mission Impossible with about people scamming elderly people. Fantastic. Snack Shack was a standout.
Yeah,
really good. The guy Gabriel LaBelle from Fablemans and Saturday Night, but I didn't like Saturday Night. I feel like he's going to be a star. He's fantastic. Last Stop in Yuma County, an indie pick, kind of a single location thriller comedy thing that has Jim Cummings as one of the leads, which if he's in it, I'll pretty much watch it at this point. He didn't write it, but he's just one of the stars of it. Really good. Kind of a cool like 90s throwback that really I think it was made for like $1 million, if not cheaper. And they really are like pushing they're doing everything they can to make it feel big. Viggo Mortensen's The Dead Don't Hurt was another surprise. Like this sort of like somber Western type of thing about like immigrants and like people torn apart by war that kind of surprised me. I kind of expected like a half-assed war movie, sad thing, but instead it's like this like very somber, great thing. Wallace and Gromit, Benjamin Smith's Foul. It's Wallace and Gromit. It's one of the greatest things we've been graced with, and the new one freaking rules. And the last one you should all be watching is Connor O'Malley and Danny Sherrar's Rap World, which is beautiful and only an hour, but beautiful.
I'll forgive him. I'll roll him not guilty for spelling Connor wrong. He is guilty of that. To be fair.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let him off the hook. Let's talk about juror number 2. Josh has been notified. He maybe just fell asleep because he does have COVID. This maybe another 1v2, so to speak. But how about Scott? Do you want to give a summary? I guess the premise of juror number 2.
Sure. Juror number 2 stars Nicholas Hoult
as the eponymous juror number 2.
Yeah, as the titular juror, who is on it's for a murder trial for a guy who killed his girlfriend, who was accused of killing his girlfriend, and Nicholas finds out he may be more involved in this case than he originally thought.
Yeah.
What that means, just like that's.
I think we can say it. That's the premise of the movie. Okay. I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'll fucking say it. I don't give a fuck.
This woman, the guy is accused of killing his girlfriend, but what Nicholas Hoult realizes is that, actually it was late at night and he hit her with his truck, not realizing even it was a person, and drove away. It was a hit and run. And now he's realizing, as he's hearing the case for the first time in the court, he's putting it all together and realizing, it wasn't a deer I hit that night. It was almost certainly her. And this guy's innocent. And what am I going to do?
I'll say this. Out of the 3 big movies we're talking about tonight, I like this one the most. I think it is diverting enough. I think, like, I wasn't bored anything, you know what I mean? Unlike unlike September 5, where I could feel myself getting annoyed, or Megalopolis, where I was just like bored, this movie like held my attention the whole time. Solid direction. If you told me that somebody my peepaw's age made this film, I would be like, what? But apparently true. Great cast. You know, here's a still of Toni Collette from the movie behind me. You know, and I like that premise is really good, actually. That premise rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have certain issues with it. But what do the juror number 2 enjoyers have positive to say?
I dug it a lot. I thought I saw it at the Arrow. It was an AC screening. Nicholas Hoult was there.
Okay.
It was that. No. It was that. And what's the other movie he was in with Jude Law this year?
The Order.
The Order. It was a double feature of that. And in between, it was him and. Yeah. It was him and Daniel Kluwer that did the Q&A. So it was pretty great. So like it was a heightened atmosphere, I guess is what I would say. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was that deep, but I just remember thinking like, oh, my parents would love this.
Yes.
And it's a good story told well for the most part. I think there are parts where I was like, all right, my biggest issue, I guess we'll get into that now, is like the trial itself is actually not that big of a part of the movie. And then most of the movie is them in deliberation.
Yeah.
And Nicholas Holt's character. And when they get, but you see enough of the trial that when they get to start to deliberate, I was shocked when like everyone except 2 characters seemed to say that like, oh, this is an open shut case. It's clearly the murderer, because like based on that trial, the prosecutor had no case.
Yeah,
just
he has
absolutely zero case.
Zero concrete evidence. One eyewitness who was old. It was at night, saw from like 100 feet away and through the rain. That I agree with that. That was, to me, that was like the beginning of me going like that. And well, there's a couple of like conservative little things here and there. I'm like, okay, Clint Eastwood, I see you fucker, but you know, you're okay compared to most conservative. Like if you were the worst conservative out there, we'd live in a way better world. That really, like, I remember thinking like, like that doesn't like really doesn't make any sense to me. Like if it had been divided down the middle, that would have made sense, I guess.
Yeah, but to me, what that made me realize pretty quickly is like, oh, we're dealing with theme, not reality.
Yeah.
And like these characters are going to be written a bit broader, you know, the cop, even to the point, and like conservative. Just the prosecutor was seen as like a hero and as like out for justice. It's like, oh no, that's not what prosecutors do. That's not who they are.
Yeah. Whenever like the word politician is said, it's always said like politician.
Yeah.
And like, and the fuck, I'm forgetting his name. The guy from Reno 911. Like his character was actually like fleshed out as it went on, but the other black person was just like belligerent from the very beginning. Like was just like, no, he's guilty, and I'm like, the fuck? What the like? Why are they both so like they were? I don't know. They were written in a way that I thought was weird. But my parents did also enjoy it, despite the fact that they also, while we were watching, were like, that doesn't make any sense. But then afterwards, they were like, oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders, I haven't watched any interviews or anything, but I almost wonder if like the screenplay was written from the perspective of like some of these dumb things, like that's just how things roll. Like in like the most like, even though it's got a conservative lean, it also has like this weird kind of almost like patriotic ideal of like justice needs to be justice, but it isn't type of thing. And I wonder if like the goofiness are like, well, that doesn't work. And that conversation that I'm glad they had the conversation with the jurors were like, I just want to go home. I don't want to deal with this. And I'm convinced because this guy looks shitty that he did it. And like, maybe I thought that some of the like sillier things were maybe just like how people actually behave in like a really alarming way.
Yeah, potentially. I mean,
like if we do this, we can go back home to our families because we get $15 a day to be here or whatever.
I mean, there are other pieces of that stuff at the core of it is like better. When you get towards the outside is when it starts. Like the Dan McCoy from the Flophouse brought that. I didn't even think about this, but he brought this up. He wrote a Letterboxd review, and he brought up the fact that like the defense's whole case is that it was like a hit and it was like a hit and run, like if somebody else did it or whatever. And then the defense ends their closing argument like by like being like, we gotta find the perpetrator who did this, like thus like putting that in the brain of them, like, oh, somebody did this and like we need to find that person and get rid of them, as opposed to just like, oh, it was an accident, it doesn't really make any sense. Or I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the Google search heard around the world.
Okay, now I will say to tell what happens first, yeah.
Basically Toni Collette, pictured behind me, is the prosecutor. She early on she's like, no, this is the guy. She's kind of jaded, and then as she goes on, she begins to look more and more into the actual case. She starts to get on the trail of Nicholas Hoult without realizing that it's one of the jurors, and she specifically goes to his house where his wife is, played by Zoe Deutsch, Zoe Deutsch, and later in the film, at like the sentencing trial, Nicholas Hoult is there, and Toni Collette's like, oh, that's weird. And then something dawns on her, and she Google image searches the character name of Zoe Deutsch and husband, and then all that pops up are a bunch of pictures of her with that Zoe Deutsch with Nicholas Hoult, and it's like, excuse me, sir.
Clint Eastwood's used to Googling himself that way.
Yeah, I wonder if that felt to me like Clint Eastwood not quite getting Google.
Yeah.
I will say, when that happened at my screening, I burst out laughing, and then I realized I was the only one laughing, and it was just like, oh, I guess like we're just rolling with this, because that was actually pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. I think it's just one of those things where, like, I know you were in our private text messages, which I won't reveal all the contents of, Daniel, but we were talking in the context of the fact that you were surprised that Josh didn't like it, of the specter of Josh hanging over this episode long.
The ghost.
And you were like, oh, well, maybe now that he's a dog dad, he'll like this dad cinema. And like, this isn't dad cinema. This is like granddad cinema.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like Josh and I have always had a very close bond in our taste, and so when there's a thing, I have to question where I stand. Like if I've messed up, without alignment.
I'm like that with my buddy Paul. I'm like, when he doesn't like something that I did like, I get like weirdly upset, like to the degree.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Like,
yeah,
it makes me
that's
like
why
rethink. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Like when you did that, it revealed Toni Collette.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a still from the movie, but that's all I gotta say about fucking this movie. I guess here's what I'll say. Juror number 2, innocent of being fine. September 5, guilty of being released at a bad time. Victor Salva, guilty of various things you can read up on. And that'll be that'll be it for the main part of this episode. I guess I think Josh has just passed out from COVID. I did as an experiment because I thought it would be fun, infect one of the guests with COVID, but apparently it just completely incapacitates you and you're just not going to be able to even join. So Instead, it's time for Connor's Wicked Games, sponsored by Chris Isaac. Every week, like Jigsaw, I like to play a little game. This week, Court, or Court. It's the famous game that everyone is talking about, where I read the name of a movie, and maybe some other details, and you have to guess, does this movie contain A, a court of law, B, a basketball court, C, a royal court, or D, character actor Bud Court? Everyone will get a chance to guess, 1 point per correct answer. You also have a combo. It starts at 1, increases by 0.5 for every correct answer. If you get a wrong answer, it drops back down to 1, and you can abstain from an answer if you think you don't know it. There may be some that have 2 types of courts. If you guess both, you get 3 points. If you guess just one of them, you get 1. If you guess 2 on one that only has 1, even if one of the guesses is correct, you get nothing and your combo is reset. And there also may be some that have none. So, but like I said, it's kind of in honor of the different movies. We got a court of law for juror number 2. We got a basketball court for September 5 because the Olympics or whatever. Royal Court, Sing Sing, because they're doing like Shakespeare plays and shit, and then Bud Court because Megalopolis is full of weird little guys. So we'll start with Daniel. Air Bud.
And what are the options again for
basketball, law, royal, or Bud? Basketball court, court of law, royal court, or character actor Bud Court?
I think aren't there's technically 2. There's a basketball court, and doesn't he have to go to try and the bad clown man has to go to court to try to get the dog back?
I'm not trying to trick you. I don't know if there is or not. This is supposed to
there's like a sequence at the end where they're like and they're like whoever the dog goes to, that's who it belongs to. But I don't remember if that's actually with a court or if they just like agree on that.
That was a Judge Judy episode.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it isn't, because that's not what I wrote down. I didn't watch all these movies all the way through. I gotta be honest.
Hold on, I gotta Wikipedia Air Bud.
Let's just pause and go watch Air Bud real quick.
No, answer.
Right now.
I'm telling you, just answer basketball. It's the first one.
Yeah. The first one's always his
basketball.
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah.
Bri.
Sounds like basketball.
Yeah, it was basketball. I didn't write down the other one.
Oh, God, we were even I was like, yeah, it's basketball, obviously.
Yeah.
I thought we'd move on to the next question.
Wait, time out. I'm on Wikipedia. Snively, her real name, attempts to sue the Fram family for custody of Buddy. The judge suggests that Buddy can choose the owner. Judge Cranfield accepts this proposal and moves court out small.
I'll give you an extra 2 points then. Fine.
I was going to say a half. Wow, 2's gracious.
Well, that's per the rules.
Incredible. I guess I got to rewatch Air Bud. I don't know why I remember that so well.
Scott,
probably jarring.
My cousin Vinny.
That would be a court of law.
Bri?
Yep, court of law.
And Daniel?
Court of law.
That is, I can't believe what I'm seeing here, but it is in fact correct.
A side question: can I Google who Bud Court is just to get his image in my brain?
The problem is it's going to bring up that thing where it's like all of his movies.
Oh,
see,
fair.
Stuff.
Okay, I won't do it.
Bri, Black Knight. This, by the way, I said I was going to bleed. This is the Martin Lawrence fantasy adventure buddy comedy from 2001.
What's it called?
Black Knight, spelled Knight.
Maybe Bud Court makes an appearance in this one.
Daniel?
I don't know who Bud Court is.
I have no idea.
I'm so sorry. Basketball court, court of law, bud court, and the fourth one more time.
Royal court.
Royal court. I'm royal court.
Scott.
Royal court. Yeah.
It was in fact a royal court. This involves modern day Martin Lawrence going back in time to King Arthur days. Next up,
I can't believe I missed that. That's crazy.
Daniel, Harold and Maude.
Um,
The Hal Ashby film with Ruth Gordon as Maude.
I don't remember if they play basketball. I'm gonna say, court of law, and call it with that because I don't know who bud court is.
Scott, remember you can abstain to not reset your multiplier. If you ever want to.
I'm gonna say bud court.
Okay, and Bri.
I'm gonna say basketball. I'm gonna go for a different. We're all gonna go for it.
Scott, you are correct. That is indeed Bud Court as Harold. He's the guy who plays Harold in Harold and Maude. I thought we had more big Bud Court heads here. But
wait, I think I just realized who he is because I just watched it recently. I think is he the dad in But I'm a Cheerleader? Or he's like somebody in that he's like the dad. He's the dad.
He is. I don't have that as one of the options here, so thank God.
Okay.
Is that
sorry. Yeah, I forgot we're playing a game. Sorry.
What other movies do you think Bud Court might have been in?
That's all I got.
Scott, Slam Dunk Ernest. This is a film with Jim Varney as his famous Ernest P. Worrell character.
I'm gonna have to go with basketball court.
Okay, it's an interesting choice, Bri.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. I mean, I'd love to see the court version of this, but yeah.
And Daniel,
the courtroom version.
Yeah, I'll also say slam. I don't think I've seen Slam Dunk Ernest.
that is all correct. Bri, Alien Resurrection.
I mean, that's got to be a Bud Court one in there.
Daniel,
is
I wish it was basketball.
Is that the trick shot basketball? I'm gonna say, or is that 3? I'm gonna guess basketball court. Wait, in Harold and Maude, it was like the 70s. How old? I'm trying to think if he could be in. I'm just gonna say basketball.
Scott.
Yes, Daniel. The fourth one is the trick basketball shot. So
okay.
Yeah, basketball court.
It is in fact bass. They're playing basketball.
Apparently, she got that in like one shot.
Of course.
Oh, and it's not like Ron Perlman almost ruins the take because he
like she just like I guess she was like practicing a long time, but I mean let's still just goddamn boom.
Daniel, what about the movie Dune? David Lynch's Dune.
I think that would fall under Royal Court. Trying to think of that kid in Harold and Maude now. Could he be in it? I'm gonna say Royal Court. I feel like it also kind of has regular court. I'm gonna say Royal Court out of fear of losing my point.
Scott.
So right now, how does this work? If we abstain, we
keep your multiplier, which right now you are in the lead with you have a hefty multiplier, Scott.
And then if we get it wrong, we lose that. Like
it resets to 1.
Reset to 0. Okay. I think I might abstain this one.
Right.
Strategically.
I'm gonna give it a try too. I'm gonna copy Scott.
Well, you don't have a multiplier at the moment right now.
Oh, that's right. I'm in last place. Can't multiply out of that. What's the movie again?
Dune. David Lynch's Dune.
Oh yeah, right. I'm gonna say the Royal Court one. Daniel was on something with that.
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. Scott, Along Came Polly.
Court of Law.
Bri.
I think Court of Law.
And Daniel.
I'll say the same. Court of Law.
A lot of multipliers reset. That is has a famous basketball scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman playing basketball.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have to say it's been some time since I think I saw that once, or maybe. Yeah, I did once.
I thought he was a lawyer in that, but maybe he's not.
That's what I kind of, when you said that, I'm like, I could picture that being the.
Yeah.
What movie is Ben Stiller a lawyer in? Because I did the same thing. I like that he's in the courtroom.
Bri. Oh.
Yeah.
Just the letter O. Directed by Tim Blake Nelson, apparently. Based on Othello by William Shakespeare. Starring Josh Hartnett and Julia Stiles.
Oh. Jesus Christ. Let's say basketball.
Daniel.
Actually, no. I'm gonna abstain. I'm sorry. I don't know those multipliers.
You're back
down to one again because everyone just got the last one wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Fine basketball.
Daniel.
Othello. I also have one. I'm like on a.
Yeah.
I have no multiplier.
Everyone's reset to one. Yeah.
I like basketball. I'll follow.
Scott.
I'll follow the heart.
Well, great news, guys. It's basketball.
Yeah.
So
it is basketball. It's like a version of.
Yeah.
It's like using basketball. It's trying to do like the West Side Story thing, essentially, where it's like in a basketball team, essentially.
I just imagine the O is a net. That was all I was thinking about when I.
No, yeah.
How would it look on a poster?
Yeah, like the royalty in this case is a private school basketball team.
That
movie's really good, by the way. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that was like one of the better Shakespeare adaptations. That film was really worth checking out.
Daniel, Iron Man 2.
Does the American government count as royal court? I'm going to say court of law, but then I also feel like Sam Rockwell, does he just dance or does he have a basketball? I don't know why I think he might have a basketball. I'm just going to say court of law. I'm not confident.
Scott, is there a spoon scraping going on?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. What did you say, Daniel?
I think court of law is as comfortable as I can give.
Scott.
Court of law.
And Bri?
Yeah, court of law.
That is correct. That's at the beginning where Don Cheadle comes in and is just like, "Hey, it's me. Get used to it. I look different." Next up, Dogma, Scott.
And there's no Jesus. I'm gonna say Bud Court.
Bri?
Say it one more time.
Dogma. The Kevin Smith film.
Right. I would say basketball. I just feel like this has to happen somewhere in there.
Daniel.
Can I do Royal Court and oh wait, no, does Royal count for God? I don't know. I'm gonna trust Scott's confidence with this man. Bud Court.
Scott's the big stand.
I don't know if religion dictates Royal Court, so I won't say.
It does not. Also, I don't think there's like a court scene anyways in that movie.
It's been a minute.
That's what I couldn't think of.
It's Bud Court.
Woo!
Bri,
who does he play?
I don't know. I don't have that information. I'm sorry. I got to move on to Bri. Unidentified Flying Oddball. It's a 1979 science fiction comedy film from Walt Disney, based on
that has to be basketball.
Mark Twain novel.
Oh, what? What the fuck is this? I have never heard. That's the craziest description of a movie ever. I'm gonna still say basketball.
Scott.
I'm gonna abstain. I have a few multiples now, and I have no idea. So,
and Daniel.
Wait, it's based on what?
A Mark Twain novel.
Do I have a multiplier?
Yes.
I'll abstain.
This was it's based on a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, about a guy from who goes on a space mission and ends up back in King Arthur days. All right, one last round. Daniel, Phantom of the Paradise. Brian De Palma's film with Paul Williams.
Is there a court in that? There's like a... Is there basketball? I'm gonna say a royal court because the Phantom holds court. I don't know if that counts.
Scott?
How many abstains do we get?
As many as you want.
It's kind of boring to go on to the last one of that, but I have no idea, so I'm going to abstain.
Right.
Basketball.
This was a court of law. There's like a really brief scene where he like begs in front of a judge. It's like done just like with a blank background, but a judge is there and it's like, "You're guilty, sentence whatever," and he turns to the camera and he's like, "But I'm innocent." Scott, First Sunday. This is a movie that I only remember because the trailer got uploaded to Apple Trailers with its mix all fucked up, where it didn't have any music and it had just all the sound effects on the left channel and all the dialogue on the right, and so people like edited it a bunch. But it's got Ice Cube's Cat Williams and Tracy Morgan. Scott, what do you think about First Sunday?
Like, I kind of want to guess basketball, but I'm afraid that's going to be racist.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to guess basketball, and if I lose my points, that's the cost of being racist.
Right.
See, here's the thing, Scott. I've been just guessing basketball for the last 6 rounds, so I'm not racist. I just guess basketball.
Yeah, you've got a whole bit going on.
I do.
This is like the first time I've guessed basketball this entire game. Like, oh, black people out in definitely basketball.
Totally, yeah. I don't know why you see it that way, but okay.
So you're guessing basketball as well, Brian?
Yeah.
Daniel?
There's like a sports movie called something Sunday.
Any Given Sunday.
Okay, different movie then.
This is not that.
I just still imagine like a hangout.
That's the first movie I thought too when you said, that's.
I think it's like I think First Sunday is like a crime movie. I think it's I'm going to say court of law.
You would be correct, Daniel. It is, in fact, the court of law. They get sentenced to community service. And our very last one, Bri, you get to start. The Little Prince. This is specifically an adaptation from about 10 years ago of the famous The Little Prince. Has a star-studded cast, including Jeff Bridges, Paul Rudd.
Maybe our Bud was in it. Bud Court, I'm going to say.
Daniel?
How old would that man be at this point? I like Bud. I like that man. But it's a Little Prince. Is there a royal thing?
I just feel like there's a rule. They're like, hey, just get Bud in here. He'll get that shit done.
I'll side with Bri here.
Scott?
Yeah, let's do Bud.
Let's do Bud indeed, because he is in fact in the film The Little Prince.
You've never let us down.
Was that the last one?
That was the last one. Very low multipliers. I did do the I figured it out in my head. Technically someone could have gotten like hundreds of points on this if they had gotten all of them correct. But we got Daniel with the gold, Scott with silver, Bri with the bronze.
Participation.
But yeah, and that's not what I wanted to do. What I want to do is I want to throw it over to Scott for his thing.
All right, welcome to Scott's Comic Corner, brought to you by Eric Clapton and X. Get on it if you're a right-wing Nazi, I guess. I don't know. So this week it begins, or rather it preludes. We've got Fantastic Four with the start of One World Under Doom. That is going to be the big miniseries Marvel does this year. Dr. Doom has become the Sorcerer Supreme, and that happened in last year's Blood Hunt event. And when that happened, we didn't really hear from him since then. But that's all about to change next month. It's going to be a longer event. I think it's about a 9-issue series. And it goes, I think, till November. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's written by Ryan North, who is writing the Fantastic Four series right now. And I've really enjoyed his take on the Fantastic Four. They've been like single or double issue adventures. Really a lot like I've compared to like a sitcom almost of just a family. Yeah.
I really like that first issue or so of his, and I want to read that book a little more.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this other series. It's been interesting with Doom. Doom has not appeared too much in that series. I know kind of you've always said, and I kind of agree with this, that like when you're doing a Fantastic Four series, like Doom should be the fifth lead.
Yeah.
He's not in this series. It still works. He's around, but they really just kind of over him.
Yeah.
They're still very much aware that he's a threat, but I would compare him to sort of like Daffy Duck in that like he's sort of like an annoyance that they kind of have to deal with and outsmart. I think that's all going to change. With obviously, but I think he was kind of holding back on the Doom for this. The big thing about this series is there's going to be other series tie-ins. One World Under Doom is going to be the main storyline, but like what do you know, all characters in the Marvel movies coming out this year are getting series. There's going to be a Red Hulk. Who'd have thought? Yeah, Red Hulk is getting a new series that ties directly into this, and there's a mini series coming out called Thunderbolts Doomstrike. in addition to Doom Academy, which is about people who were training under Stephen Strange. Now the new teacher is Dr. Doom, and some like it, some don't. So, like I said, it all starts with Fantastic Four 28, which comes out this week. Check it out. I'm really looking forward to this new run. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes down.
Nice. Yeah, I just I read a really good issue of. Wait, hold on a second. On Move Spotlight. World's Finest. Their 34th issue was a one-off called Good Boys that focused on. It was a team up. It included Supergirl and Jimmy Olsen, but it was mainly Crypto and Ace the Bat Hound. Speaking of characters who are about to get exposed in movies soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, does anyone have anything else other than motherfucking into genocide, Palestine, Congo, Syria, and everywhere else? Speaking of DC, I loved Creature Commandos. James Gunn made me fucking...
I was about to say, I just watched that too.
Me fucking cry about Weasel? Are you kidding me? The joke character from Suicide Squad? You got me crying about this dude? What the fuck? I also just rewatched Severance, the first season, in preparation for the premiere was great. That finale of the first season is like an all-timer episode. It's so fucking good. If people haven't watched Severance,
I kept saying like, oh, I'm gonna wait to get Apple till the second season's like a little bit before it premieres so I can watch the first season, but I never got around to it. But yeah, I gotta jump on that bandwagon because I've heard nothing but good things, and especially everyone says like, and then you get to the finale and you're like, what? So
yeah, it's such a banger. It's an all-timer. But like Scott, it's free now on Apple TV. Like I think in preparation for the new season, they're just like offering it like it's just that they are available when you just go to the app.
Nice.
Okay,
it's definitely. I mean, it's super worth it. You blast right through it. Like I don't watch too many TV shows, but that's one I'm gonna actually rewatch before as well.
I don't watch a lot of TV either, which is also like when I did watch Creature Commandos, and man, that thing just like those episodes like 20 minutes long.
Yeah,
and it goes down real smooth.
And great structure too. It's basically the structure of Lost. Like each episode, with the exception of the first episode, if people haven't watched Creature Commandos, about like I would say 2/3 of the episode is about like whatever the actual main story is, and then 1/3 of it is flashback centering on one of the different main characters, where we're kind of seeing either what made them what they are or some part of their story that made them what they are. Because there is going to be a second season with some of the characters, and I assume that some of the new characters will have flashbacks and some of the old characters will have, new flashbacks probably.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I will say, like, going in, I thought, like, okay, it's just another James Gunn, like, will this ragtag group of misfits learn to work together? But it's a little darker, like, I'd say it's closer to Suicide Squad than Guardians of the Galaxy, where, like, not all the characters make it out, and some of the deaths are absolutely surprised, like whoa, I did not see that coming. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
The DCU is off to a good start.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm very excited about Superman, and
me too.
But yeah, I think
I got one thing for you.
Okay,
the most important, starting 2025, unbelievably strong, entering the Den of Thieves 2, Pantera.
Okay. Like for real?
Genuinely. Someone described it so perfectly, and this is all I'm going to say about it. They're B movies that are so much better than they should be because people that make them care. Someone called Den of Thieves 1 Baby Heat, which I agree with. And Den of Thieves 2 is Miami Vice. It's trying for something bigger. It's like this weird slow burn that like kind of opens with action and then has like this massive heist toward the end, but it's like all about character and everyone's dumb as hell, but let's intentionally so. Highly recommend.
I just never heard of it until the sequel, and then it was like obviously it's being blasted around, but I didn't know it was actually.
It rules. I think I like 2 better than 1.
You were already dad-pilled. Daniel. Before
I gotta
becoming a dad.
say, I'm digging Gerard Butler's like resume. Like he makes good like B-level action movies.
I watched an interview thing where they said basically Gerard Butler is currently one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood because if you put him in a movie, regardless of cost, it's gonna double its budget basically. So Den of Thieves cost like $30 million.
I don't know about regardless of cost. I feel like there's probably.
I could put him in an expensive enough movie. Put him in like Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie.
The stuff he's getting cast in is gonna double.
Yes.
But like Den of Thieves 2 is like $40 million, and it like they were like it's gonna make $7 million opening weekend. It made 15, and continues to truck.
No, I like him and like Jason Statham. Like I like
pulling some weight.
Yeah, like you don't see a lot of these movies, and it's like mid-budget, even the lower action movies that like would be on TNT all the time and stuff.
Exactly.
And I enjoy
grand
that.
time. I've never watched the like Olympus Has Fallen movie, but I think I want to watch that next.
I saw the first one.
Den of Thieves is on Max, and if you like it at all, if you're like I would do more of this. 2 is better.
Okay.
2 rules. It's good. We're starting the year strong. Currently, my number 1 movie of 2025.
Oh yeah, I've only seen one.
That's the only movie that I've seen.
Yeah, I've only seen one of.
I saw One of Them Days the other day. It's a good time if you're looking for a laugh.
Which one?
You guys know One of Them Days.
Is it?
Oh, I also like overperformed, right?
Yeah, Keke Palmer rules. I mean, I knew she was, but like, and SZA was really, really good in it. Cat Williams has a great bit of role in it that like I don't know, it's just it's exactly what it is. It's a fucking example of this crazy day, and the buddy team up vibe is really good, and I would go see it for sure. I'm not really a comedy person either, and that was one that hit the right spots for sure for a comedy.
Well, next week we're gonna be back with Horny Monsters, talking about Nosferatu, Baby Girl, and A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. And in 3 weeks, we're going to be Twin Peaks Club will be returning with parts 1 through 5 of The Return. I want to thank Bri here for composing our outro. You should follow us on TikTok. Thankfully, President Trump saved TikTok from the brink.
Dear leader, we came close, but dear leader came in and saved it all. Thank you.
On TikTok and Insta, CinemaCurse666. You can please smash that like button, like and subscribe. Share this episode with your local television lawyer. I had a good one that time. I think that's pretty much it. I'm looking down my list of like end of show things. That's pretty much it. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.